those of us who might not know all of the little amazing or the huge amazing things that you've done, launched bareMinerals in 1995. And basically have completely revolutionized the beauty industry. You've empowered so many women. You've been named Entrepreneur of the Decade. I think even more importantly than that, though, you have really redefined what beauty means, and you're a beautiful person also. So thank you.
Thank you.
Now, a little known fact you might not know is that you might think Leslie's first job was somewhere in beauty, it was McDonald's.
I'm sure you guys have worked in McDonald's.
That's right. How many people one of their first jobs was like the food industry?
All right, I see your hand over.
Okay.
Right, a couple. I love that job. I remember I wanted to work my way up to cooking. The guys were the ones that were the cooks. They put the cute girls, I was cute back, by the way, when I was 16. They put the cute, perky girls to sell, and I wanted to make the burger, so. I was working my way up back in the McDonald's days.
I feel like there's a good life lesson in here for all of us, though, to like be nice to the person at the drive-thru, because you never know when they're going to launch the next huge beauty company in the world.
Well, I learned how to apply eyeshadow from a coworker at McDonald's.
Really?
Back in 1970.
Do you remember what the eyeshadow was?
Yeah, it was an ombre effect. It was a lilac, both frosty colors, a lilac and a plum. And you put the lilac on the first half and the plum on the second half, and you blend it in the center. And I still do that technique.
Wow.
Not tonight, but yeah, so that was like the beginning of my love for one of the early stages.
Well, go McDonald's.
Yeah.
And so you just had a big announcement. You announced that you were taking some time off. So what have you been up to?
Oh, man.
You don't seem like the kind of person who's going to be happy to sit still for very long.
Yeah, I don't sit still, but I have to say, I went to Ireland for about 10 days, and I drank a lot on that trip. And it was just, it wasn't like drinking to get drunk, but it was Guinness, and it was filling, and I put on some weight. So I'm working out 2 hours every day, 2 to 3 hours a day. Wow. So that's what because I have to. But I also did something crazy. I found a voice coach in LA who teaches like Maroon 5 and Taylor Swift.
Singing voice.
Yeah, so I got a singing lesson and a voice lesson. So
you're gonna have a whole second career as a rock star now.
So it was the most mortifying, horrifying experience. It was 2 hours, and I remember we went on a cruise with our customers a bunch of years ago, and we did karaoke on the cruise, and I'm like singing Country Roads, John Denver's. We have the same type of voice, and one of my customers afterwards came up and said, really, don't quit your day job. I wouldn't even recommend you do karaoke again. Yeah, it was that bad. And I thought it was pretty good, so to do this is a big deal for me, to actually sing in front of professionals.
So what's your go-to karaoke song?
It's Country Roads. It's the only one I sing.
It's a pretty good one.
You guys know that one?
Do you want to give us a few bars?
Country roads, that's how terrible that is. Take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, those country roads.
Bravo! That's awesome! Sorry for any copyrights we just violated singing that song, but I think. I hear American Idol just lost all their judges, so maybe I think you have a real future. What's on the horizon for you?
Well, I'm just taking a few months off to see what it's like. I think I've been working since I could legally do it, and before that I was working. So when I was in college at FIT New York City, when I was studying cosmetic marketing, I had 6 different jobs. And then when Trent was born, I have a 20-year-old son. After I was interviewing from Maryland to LA, got a brand new job when he was 3 months old. So I was always just constantly working. So I'm learning how to listen to music again, read a lot again, and push myself, meeting authors that are, going to readings, and I don't know.
It's great.
It's when you don't have the time, you don't think about what it is you want to do. And when you have the time, you're just scurrying to figure it out,
That's right,
but
you
I'm
end
really
up
enjoying
filling it.
myself. But my son is living at home right now, so because I wasn't around a lot when he was young, I'm actually having the most amazing time being a mother, even though he's 20.
It's wonderful
Amazing.
to hear. I know you were giving me faith. I have a 2-year-old son that he'll kind of come back around.
Yeah, they don't leave. They don't go anywhere. They're all kids. They stick with you.
So we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience tonight, and I know obviously starting your company, it's a roller coaster ride. There's some mornings you get out of bed and you think this is amazing. There's some moments you get out of bed and you're like, what am I doing? I know you had a moment where, in 1994, 95, you thought the company might not make it, and then you found your salvation in QVC.
Yeah, so basically, we were a Bath and Body retailer, and we only really did well fourth quarter. It was a holiday business. We did beautiful gift wrap. We did refills. It was right here in Los Gatos. That's where it started. But we had about a bunch of stores. And it was tough because I had to learn how not to pay bills to people that you like, to vendors, because you'd have to call. It was horrible stuff. You had to call and say, you know what, give me 2 more weeks, and then you'd be bargaining because you just didn't know. And every year it just was very stressful. So it was 1996. My son was little and my husband was sleeping, and I'd get up in the middle of the night and watch television to keep my mind off of just stress. I couldn't sleep. And the choices on TV were horror movies then. There weren't a lot of choices. There was nothing on
Couldn't
the
go to
computer.
YouTube and...
Couldn't do, right. So it was just either horror movies or QVC. And I got very attached to 3 in the morning, these friendly women mostly, just chatting about their lives and selling stuff on the side. I was more listening to what they had to say about their lives. And I got kind of attached to the channel. And once I started purchasing, I realized that it was good stuff too. So I thought, you know what, I'm not going to tell anybody, but I'm going to apply. I'm going to send in an application to see if I can get my product on QVC. But I'm not going to tell anyone in case they don't want to meet with me. And everything was always behind the scenes. Right. A lot of stuff that I did in the early days was I never involved the press. I never told too many people because if I was going to fail, I was going to do it with myself first. I was not one of those people that would just spend a ton of money on anything and then publicly make a fool of myself. So I would do that behind the scenes. So, but it worked. I mean, it worked. It took about 8 months from the time I sent the application in to going on air. I basically went on in 6 minutes, sold out, and had a wait list for the same amount of product that I sold. That day changed the history of our company. It was the beginning of this,
and I think, part of your secret is how approachable and relatable you are. I know you say that you get thousands of emails, you try to answer every single one, you talk to women who are confused or using the product. Why do you think more business leaders don't do that?
I'm so glad you asked me that, because I have to tell you something that occurred to me. One of the things on the sabbatical, I'm remembering stuff, and things are coming to me where I must have blocked stuff out. But I was driving in the car. This is unrelated, so excuse me. Turns out Brad Pitt decides in Esquire magazine that he has this thing called face blindness. Did you guys read this article? That he believes that he can't remember faces, and there's a real condition. And I'm thinking, I didn't know it was real. I did research, it is real. But I'm thinking, if he's got face blindness, then I have this condition that I am going to call hyperactive empathy gene. I think empathy is a beautiful thing, and I think everyone needs some of it. But I really believe that mine's overactive, and that is why the company was the way it was for all those years. Because I put myself in every woman's shoes that I met, every letter I got. I felt for them. I would feel their pain so much, to the point where it was almost crippling for a while, and I felt paralyzed by their pain so much. I've learned how to manage it, but I really believe that I wanted to help them so much that I would stop everything, and everyone in the company, we would get the letters, we would read them, we would cry together. I'd bring the letters home, I would read them to the family, we would all cry together. It was just, I had to help solve these problems. And you don't like your skin, you've got acne, you've got breakouts, even if no one else sees it, you feel it. If you don't have good self-esteem, if you don't like yourself, it's going to impact everything about your life, the decisions you make, the people you meet, the things you do. I felt responsible for making these women feel better about themselves through good skin. That's all I knew. So I think I really just wanted to help them so much. And then when you get bigger, it's hard to help everybody. And that's where when you say some days are good, some days are bad, the days were bad. The bad days for me were when I would realize that I can't make everyone happy. And you just have to learn how to deal with that. You might come up with a formula that half the people like and the other half don't. And you can't take that personally. You just have to continue to try new products and that type of thing. But I really believe that empathy, you have to have that to be successful in your lives, to be a parent, to be a wife, to be a friend, and in business.
It's interesting, we were talking before about kind of the crippling guilt that women feel as moms and in business. You've been a pioneer in so many ways, but one of the ways that you've also been a real pioneer is in your marriage. As your career grew, your husband made the choice to be a stay-at-home husband. A
year ago, when I gave an interview about this, I was still guilt-ridden. I'm starting, and on this sabbatical, I'm realizing I was trying to be my mother. I mean, she was my role model. You guys are lucky you get to meet people who are out there balancing careers and having husbands stay at home or trying to do that. I didn't have much of that. So I was just trying to be what other people were doing, but I couldn't do that. So I would just feel bad about it. My husband, luckily, loved what he was doing and never resented me. He never said, I should be making money, you should, I'm envious of you.
It sounds like you guys were very logical about your decision making. I'm curious if for anyone in this room whose career is really skyrocketing and taking off, how do you have that conversation with your husband?
Well, listen,
suggest that.
Before you get married, you better know what you want as a parent and as a spouse. For me, the important thing was I didn't get to go to the concerts or the games, but I wanted to have meals with them when I was home. So for me, it was breakfast and dinner. So I couldn't, I would send a videographer to all of his lacrosse games, and I have a stack of DVDs.
It's really creative, actually.
Yeah, so I would send, who's that guy filming? Did the news crews come in from the local? No, that's Leslie. I've never watched them, but I just wanted to make sure I had them. But the little things for me, baking cookies once a year at the holidays, just the little things. But if your husband is going to be, is not going to support you in your career, then you got to work that out. It's not gonna.
That's right.
Not gonna jive.
So one other thing, and then I want to open up to audience questions because I know these women have so many questions, is you've been a real pioneer of real beauty portrayed in the media as opposed to so much of the airbrushing and the digital modifications that are done to models. Do you think does that help your brand to take that strong stance, or is it difficult to compete in a world where everyone's airbrushed?
I think the beauty industry hurts women trying to find identities in themselves. I think that by retouching so much, we never feel good about ourselves. And we're constantly looking in the mirror and obsessing about the little things that are wrong with us instead of looking in the mirror and saying, wow, my lashes are really not that bad. I mean, my lips are a nice shade. Instead of focusing on all the, half the models that they use don't look like that in real life. And I feel it's a shame that we should be portraying that. When I heard that the company that's selling, what is that?
Spanx.
No, I love Spanx. But the cellulite cream, they use a 14-year-old model to show what their skin would look like. That's just not fair. That's not nice. No. I just think there's aspirational and there's inspirational. And if you can be a role model here as a beauty company and show that this is, you're beautiful. You don't have to take off the freckle or the mole or the brown spot or change their nose if it's not perfect. You don't have to do that because we all need to figure out that beauty is a wide range. There's a huge range of what beauty is. And don't let the cosmetic companies tell us what's supposed to be beautiful. And that's what pisses me off. So when we did the, a couple years ago, we did the blind casting, which I loved, and the team all did this.
Can you actually explain what blind casting is?
So we decided to do our first ad campaign with models. And before that, we brought in real people who sent us letters, and they were the ones on the infomercials. But now we're gonna hire people and we're gonna pay them, which was kind of against the grain for me a little bit. But what we did instead was we would bring them in on the go-see. What they didn't realize was we weren't taping them, we were listening to them, and we had them answer questions. And the ones we liked as people, we went from a 200 and something people first questionnaires, then we brought them in and we listened, we heard them in the other room, and if they sounded like we wanted to hang out with them, if they had good ideas, if they weren't just all about vanity and about themselves, they actually had intelligence and were fun. So we actually signed 5 women, signed them before we actually saw what they looked like.
Wow.
And they became our models. And it was very stressful. I'm sweating right now thinking about it. And we have our team here just because you don't, the risk is that they all look exactly the same and that they're all the same age. That would be weird because most of the people that are seeing it in the magazines, they don't know how you got the models. We know. This was really more for us. We did a little campaign on it, but most of the people that saw these pictures didn't know how we got them. So what if they were all blonde, blue-eyed, and 24 years old? That would have been a bummer. But we had quite the range, and they were just, I'm still in touch with these women. They're cool.
That's awesome.
So I feel good about that. I feel that and when the agency, they retouched the models and sent the pictures, I'm like, why? We had a big issue with the agency wanting to change because that's what they were used to. We said, you know what? We like her nose, we like her eyebrows, we like her chin. Right, Christy? Yeah. There was this whole big thing. So all the way to the very end, we needed to keep those people, the people we met and knew and loved and heard their stories, we needed to be them true all the way to the end. So we feel good about that, and that's why we are an inspirational brand. We have to be inspired at work, and then hopefully our customers will be inspired.